Welcome into this edition of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff with you. Great to have you along today. We're joined by head coach of baseball, Grant Middlebrooks. Coach, good to have you along again, man.
Good to be here.
Yeah,
it's that time of year.
and it's that time of year. Thinking baseball, but the weather's not cooperating, is it?
Well, hey, unfortunately, we're a spring sport.
Yeah.
Everybody else gets to play in the summer, and we get here it's February where we're outside the most, and it's snowing.
Yeah.
So we're excited though. We're ready to get going. Our kids are chomping at the bit. So.
Yeah, and it looks like another blast coming in next week, possibly depending on when you view this episode. So it's just trying to get what you can get in. And I know getting out in the cold will build a little resiliency when you're able to get out there. But at the same time, it's hard to get the most from your players in that colder weather, isn't it?
It's good to see some toughness, but at the same time, you got to be smart. Last year we went to Bixby. And we didn't get anything out of it. They kicked our tail. It was a rough day for our boys, but it was also good to see how they responded because when we played them in district and we played them in the regional, we had chances to win all 3 games.
Right.
So it was scrimmages only do so much. It's good to see who's going to fight and who's going to wilt. There's good things about it, but at the same time, I don't think I'd make that same decision of going to Bixby and playing. It was 28 degrees outside. It was rough. It was a rough day.
Yeah, so. it can be tough. And do you have a guideline of what you try to do when you want to get a game in? Or
for me, it depends on scrimmages aren't as important.
Right.
Right. We can always make up a scrimmage, or it's not a game. It's supposed to be if it's under 32. But also if you try to find ways to make sure that, hey, if it's 34, 36, and it's not super windy and it's not wet, we need to find a way to get a game in.
Right.
Because if it's game time, we're going to play in it.
Right.
So you do, but at the same time, it's like, okay, it's the risk versus reward, right? Is the risk worth the reward? Going down there, could somebody get hurt because it's so cold, or you get your brain beat in like we did last year? Or what do you get out of it? Are you winning a championship on that day?
Yeah.
Probably not. Younger me, first year me, different guy. Third year me, a little bit smarter, a little bit more weathered.
Well, when we get into the cold weather, I'll ask you this early on: the indoor practice facility. You guys will eventually be able to utilize that when it gets finished. Now, not going to help you maybe as much right now, but in the future,
huge.
It's going to help you guys out a lot.
That'll be huge because you get to throw, you get to do different things. I haven't been in there yet. I know they opened it up to coaches, but I wasn't able to get in there. And I've heard they've got a batter's box and some base spots and everything that we would need. But the main thing is being able to throw and being able to throw distance. We can always go in the old gym and throw. We have our own indoor hitting facility that we split with softball. But to be able to throw, we can throw bullpens, but we can't throw. We can go to the old gym, but we can't really get out there 120 feet, 180 feet and really work on what we're trying to gain. So when we are able to get in there, it'll be awesome. And that'll be a big part of our practice of being able to go in there and take full ground balls. Full those things. That's going to be a game changer.
And that's the thing is like the fielding aspect of it for me is I remember cold days when I played baseball. We didn't have access to an indoor facility. So you would go and sometimes it'd be on concrete. You're taking ground balls and doing stuff like that. Having turf kind of inside, it gives you, because everybody's pretty much gone to turf now for the most part, so it kind of gives you a true bounce to practice with.
It'll give us a good, real game time feel. It'll be a little bit harder for outfielders. You can't exactly go pop-ups and whatnot, but you can still work ground balls. You can still throw the ball and work on tracking the base. There's so many more options when you open up that big 60-yard palace that they're putting up, because they've done a great job.
Yeah.
And so for any naysayers, I don't really care. It looks awesome. It looks phenomenal from the outside. Haven't been inside.
Yeah.
Just heard and seen some pictures, but it looks phenomenal. It looks awesome. It just continues to impress me how our facilities keep getting better. Like even the baseball facility, that new look that it has, it's nice. It's one of the best facilities in 6A baseball. Not just baseball, in 6A baseball, where Broken Arrows, the Owassos, the Taj Mahals that these places have, we're right there with them. I put our facility against anybody's. I think it's awesome.
Well, let's get more of the play itself, and let's talk about who you think going to be kind of your key contributors this year. And let's start it off with, you always got to start it off on the bump, I feel like, the mound. And you did lose maybe a very important factor from last year, but just means somebody's got to step up.
I lost a major horse. Brody, and then our number 2, Aiden, who in big games, Aiden Howard pitched really well. He got our first. I mean, we won a regional win last year against Jinx, and it was because Aiden Howard went out and pitched his butt off. And so he's gotten some big wins, and then same with Brody. That you're losing 2 horses that ate up 50 innings for you back-to-back years. Well, we got a kid named Lance Arbona, pitched in the Bixby game, shut them down for the most part. If we don't kick the ball around, it's a different game. He had 38 innings last year, a sub-3. I mean, he's awesome. So we're hoping he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
So March 10th,
football wrestler.
wrestler.
Yeah.
He's just an athlete.
Yeah.
We're hoping by March 10th, March 15th, he'll be ready to actually take the ball and go. Of course, it'd be great if he's March 1st, but I'm hoping he's in the state tournament for wrestling.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And that's when that state tournament is. But he's a big piece. Isaiah Branstetter is going to see an uptick in innings. He's thrown around 20, 25 innings back-to-back years. Jackson Hunt is going to be a senior. I'm hoping that he takes that next step. He's thrown pretty well this fall. We have a bunch of new arms to where there's Colin McMartin and Callum Covey, who's our starting shortstop, and he's going to be a big piece this year. And just a bunch of different arms. Gavin Murray, Johnston Burke, quarterback.
Yeah.
He came out this year. He has a live arm. He's got to get used to baseball, but he has a chance to be a pretty good little player. Joey Smith, another one. Ace McLeod threw about 10 innings last year.
There's going to be some growing pains on the mound, though, right?
We've got a lot of pieces. We don't have a horse that we can say, go get a 6. So this year, we're going to try something a little different. If you watch the Detroit Tigers and how they went about their playoff run, it was 2 innings here, 2 innings here.
It's by
3
committee,
outs here.
yeah.
That's kind of how our season's going to be. Hey, you got 35 pitches, you got 3 outs that you got to get me, 2 outs, 6 outs. And just piecemeal this thing together and keep changing arm slots because I've got 3 lefties and I've got a sub-arm guy and then I've got other guys. So.
Were you thinking about that when you watched Detroit this past year?
Yes.
Just thinking about what you lost and be like, hey,
Yes.
let's do this, piecemeal it together. And, as a baseball player in the past, guys not seeing you like 7 innings. So if they're seeing 3 different pitchers, it's 3 different looks.
Yes.
Now, it also puts a lot on the coach because you really got to feel, hey, do I need to get this guy out sooner or do I need to leave him? Because, it puts a little bit more on the coach, but at the same time, sometimes there's an advantage because they don't get to see that guy very often.
Well, your kids are either going to make you look really good or make you look really bad, right? You put the kid in, he goes out there and does his job, throws a lot of strikes, they're going to sit there and say, man, that was a great move by the coach, right? If he goes out there and does those strikes and walks people and hits people, they're going to say, why is he pitching?
Yeah.
So there's 2 different routes, and you got to hope it's their day. And so that's where it's kind of the players are going to play. Players are going to make plays. We're going to give kids opportunities to go prove themselves why. And then, of course, as the back end of the year comes, you might start shortening the leash a little bit. And who gets those opportunities go off of how much success they had. But it's going to be huge for our guys.
The ultimate goal would be one of these guys turn into your horse at the end of the year, right?
100%. And so Lance, he's proven. Last year, he was one of our guys. And so he's going to step into that role. And Jackson Hunt on the back end pitched really well. Isaiah Branstetter, he pitched against Carl Albert last year, held the state champs to 2 runs through 6. So he has the ability to, it's that consistency. Jackson Hunt came in regionals against Stillwater to mop up some problems that we had, and he went 3-4 innings.
Yeah, one of the best hitting teams in the state.
And did really well. So it's consistency that we're looking for. Like, hey, every outing, you got to give us this. It can't be once every 3, once every 4 outings.
Well, and you mentioned something. You're not going to have maybe the rate of guys going up on the mound striking people out. So that's going to put the onus on the fielders and your defense, and that's going to make a big difference is not fumbling the ball around the field and making those errors and making those right plays, knowing when it's time to maybe go try to get that guy out or hold that ball.
Absolutely. Defensive awareness, understanding we play for outs. That's something that we're younger-ish. We've got a lot of juniors, but we got a lot of juniors that haven't necessarily gotten that call up yet, other than a couple. We got a couple seniors that are returning that haven't really gotten a lot of time either. And so I've been saying that we're an immature team, not that we're not ready, but we're just the consistency that
they haven't gotten
that experience.
They haven't got the reps in varsity ball like
they haven't. So there's going to be some things where you see some guys and you scratch your head, but I think that our kids are going to answer the bell. One thing that I always preach to our kids is that we compete.
Yeah.
We play hard. We do everything we can. We make the right plays, and we control our outcome. We can't control wins and losses. We can't control a lot of things, but we can control what we do and how hard we play.
That being said, I mean, you want to do as good as you can this year,
Yeah.
but when you kind of look ahead as well, and you look at all these juniors that are going to
Yes.
get out in the field, and even some of these younger guys,
Absolutely.
this is one of those years that, let's not even look at the outcome, which you of course want to be good, but if it's not maybe as high as what you want, you're kind of building a foundation for what these guys maybe can do in a year or two to come.
Absolutely. And one thing that's been interesting this is year 3. That first year we had 3 seniors. Had a lot of juniors, had some freshmen play, had some sophomores play. Last year, had 6 seniors. 2 of them arms, but I still had several sophomores starting. I still had several juniors starting. So there are some guys like each year that it's just continuing to build them up, like an Isaiah Branster who started since he was a freshman, like a Callan Covey had got some opportunities as a freshman, Lance Arbona, and you're starting to see these guys continue to build. Hayden LeClaire as a sophomore, Dalton White as a sophomore, and you're seeing them grow, and now they're seniors. So you're hoping that they take the next step.
Yeah.
And somebody take that bull by the horns. Callan Covey as a sophomore last year hit 290. Can he be that 350 guy? Can Isaiah Branster take the next step from 240 to 300? Can HD come in, Hayden LeClaire come in and be a 250, 275 guy? Can these guys, Logan Ross, who started in right all year last year, can he take the next step into being those run producers, but also just reliable, everyday guys that you can trust?
So we've talked about the defensive aspect. Let's talk about the offensive aspect. And one thing about playing 6A baseball in the district scheme that they have is your guys are never going to have a shortage of facing great arms because, I mean, you'll see guys that possibly will be playing major college baseball, but certainly about half the arms you face are going to play collegiate baseball in some 100%. Sort of fashion. If not collegiate baseball, maybe another collegiate sport 100%. A lot of times, football or something like that. So one thing we always talk about, and kind of the key is get the ball in play, put some pressure on them, don't strike out. And that's one thing I know that you guys preach and preach. Hey, let's get the ball in play.
And I think year 3 is going to be even better. This is the 3rd year in the system. This is the 3rd year of just continuing to push. This is what we want. We bunt, we run, we do a lot of things really well. We put the balls in play. We make them beat themselves. Doesn't mean that you run into a Jackson Farrell, who's at Arkansas now.
Yeah.
That things aren't going to go your way. But we're getting that belief that, we can go, we can hit, we can play at this level, we can do these things. When they turn in their goals, and all of a sudden you start seeing these guys saying, I want to do this, I want to do this. We turn on our goals every year. It's like, I want to hit 400, I want to hit 350, where when I first got here, it's like, I just want to be able to make contact.
Yeah.
Right? So we're taking those next steps of belief. If we can get them to believe in each other and continue to push the issue, put balls in play, grind out at bats, no punch outs, right? We stress no punch outs because that's an automatic out. Sometimes you get beat. When we
a guy's going to make a good pitch, especially the pitchers you're going to face. They're going to make a good pitch.
We're going to face the Easton Webb kid from Sand Springs who's really, really good. We're going to face the Owasso arms that they have in those guys because those guys are back in our district this year. So you're going to punch out. Let's not make it consistent. Let's make it competitive. Let's do things the right way. And our kids are buying into that situation of just grind.
Strike it. Tough. If you look and you got 12 strikeouts, get that to 6 strikeouts.
That's 6 strikeouts.
And that's 6 more times that ball's in play. Chances are 1 or 2 of those is going to get you on base.
That's it.
And that leads also offensive. Sometimes we don't talk enough about this is limit your base running errors.
Yes.
And that is maybe the most frustrating thing sometimes for a coach is the base running errors. And it seems like this team over the past years has gotten better in that department as far as base running.
We spend a lot of time. We are making some adjustments too, but we spent a lot of time over the last 3 years where that's part of our opening day. We stretch, we base run, in all different situations. But we stretch and we base run, and then we go throw and picks and reads and everything else. Yeah. So it's really that's priority, because when we do get guys on, we have to be smart. We can't give away outs. Now this team's going to be athletic. This team is going to be more athletic as a whole, as a group, than we have been.
Which
where
we run really take more chances.
We run really well. We'll try to steal some bags. We'll try to do some things. I'd rather have to hone them in
Right.
than push them. And so this team's a little bit more aggressive on the base path, and all of our inner squads and everything. We want to go, and that's what we've been preaching. And so I think that from the base running standpoint, we're a lot better this year than we have been because we're aggressive, because we know the situations that we have to be in. Yet again, in 3 years, this is year 3.
Yeah.
Like, if we don't know it by now, I'm not doing my job. Doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, but if we don't know how to do certain things the correct way, it's on me. I've got to do better. And that's something that we do every year coming in as a coaching staff is, what do we need to get better at? What do I need to change? What's something that will make this fit better, or this make sense, or what kind of verbiage can I use to help the players get better?
Yeah.
And understand it. Because sometimes there's just a block. That word, there's a certain word that all of a sudden makes it click. I've got a kid that Coach Campbell communicates to very well, but when I talk to him, he looks at me like I'm a wall.
Yeah.
Right? But Coach Campbell can say something. He might say the same thing as me, but it's just a different voice. And he goes, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So how do we get the best out of our kids every year? And it changes every year because they're different guys.
Right. One thing you mentioned that I liked and something I think is overlooked sometimes in the game of baseball, I think softball would be the same way, the diamond sports, and that is the trust factor. And I love how you say trust in each other, and you bring that up quite a bit because baseball, softball too, they're games of trust because your pitcher has to trust your fielders. Your first baseman has to trust your third baseman to make that good throw when that ball's in there. And at the same time, you never know when that's going to be.
Right.
You have to have all this trust and have to trust in the coach to make sure he's going to make the right call and send you home or hold you at third base.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a game where you don't think about the trust factor a lot, but man, that trust factor is kind of the building block of baseball.
It's everything for us. Something that we've been preaching this year more is you can control your outcome. And the more outcomes that you're able to control that were yours, everybody else starts believing that you can control your outcome, right? So like as a pitcher, I control ball release. Is the ball in the zone? Is it where it's supposed to be? I have no control over what the umpire does. I have no control over if my catcher catches it or blocks it. I have no control if the hitter hits the ball 450 feet. I have no control over anything else but put the ball in the zone.
Right.
As a third baseman, I have no control over anything but keeping the ball in front and making a good throw. Those are the only things I have control. And so, but the more you control your outcomes, your teammates trust you more. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with me. And then ownership. I did it many a times. I've got many of guys thrown out at the plate or thrown out at third, being over aggressive. Hey, I messed up. That's on me. I got to be better. I gave a hit and run, and they spun us when I thought they would be throwing a fastball. But I gave us a hit and run thinking the count was right, and they spin us. We swing through. We get thrown out.
And it goes back,
but
it goes back to the trust factor because even as a coach, you're thinking about who's next up at bat. So that depends on who you send third. So if you got somebody that's hitting 120 and not putting the bat on the ball very well, you're going to probably send them, and that goes back to the trust. There's a lot of trust. It's so interesting when you bring that up, how much of that is in the game.
Yeah, it's everything. I remember Putnam City North. They're at our place. We beat them. It was my first year, and I'm looking, and we hit 180 that year.
Yeah,
as a team, we were rough at the plate. We've got Grant Harmon at second, who runs really well, and I don't know if we're going to get a hit behind him. So we still third. They overthrow third, and we score. We win 2-1. Win another district game, and just those things of just like stuff that you do kind of out of desperation, but you also got to trust your guys and hope that it works. There's certain moments and stuff, but this team, I really am confident that we will be a more balanced, athletic overall team. Where I don't think we're going to punch out as much as we have. I think that these kids have bought into themselves, and they believe in themselves more. I'd say it's all delusional until you play a game, and then it becomes realistic. And so right now I'm like, I don't know if we're delusional in a good way or a bad way, but we'll find out. So like you're just figuring out who we are. Yeah. And that's where scrimmages come in, and then you make the adjustments, which if we get 4 scrimmages, great. If we get all 8 scrimmages, great. we learn who we are as we go through those battles, and then we start off March 1st against Putnam City North and hoping to come away with a win.
Yeah, March 1st. And baseball, you heard it there. It's the ultimate danged if you do, danged if you don't sport for a coach. It certainly is. So, hey, really appreciate the time. Looking forward to you guys being able to get out there and not just the games on March 1st, but hopefully you can get a lot of these scrimmages in, and hopefully the weather will start cooperating a little bit after we get this next big cold front through.
Yeah. March 1st, first year that we have an opening home game.
Yep.
We're excited. First year we went to Moore and we got rained out.
Yeah.
But we got all the way down there to play 2 innings. Last year, facility was being built, so we couldn't have a home game. So this is our first year to have an opening day home game. And so we're really excited. On March 1st, on a Saturday at noon, if y'all want to come out and watch, come out and watch. We're going to play Putnam City North Panthers. And then we have a JV game, and then we have a freshman game.
Yeah.
Where more lines are going to come up and play us, our freshmen. So it's PCJV Day. Bringing everybody out, trying to get some people motivated to come out and watch some baseball.
And I hope the weather will cooperate as well,
absolutely.
as we've talked about.
Absolutely.
So appreciate the time as always. Coach Grant Middlebrook with baseball. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Coach's Corner. Thanks to Chris behind the camera, Jordan Woodruff saying so long. And until next time, go Cats.